I'm glad I caught it before we got
too far in.
Oh my God.
That was just the warm up, guys. That was the warm up.
That was fake. So thanks everybody for playing along.
So I want you all to know that I did something really funny during that mess up.
We tried to record.
We were laughing so much.
And Dala was killing us. We were all rolled over on our backs laughing, kicking
and stitches.
our feet.
Brandon threw me out there and he was like, do something funny. And I did. And it was amazing. But it's gone. It's gone.
Hilarious.
That's it.
Yeah. And our guest was like, I am glad that I was here for this. If nothing else, for this. It was, it was amazing. She was blown away. And I'm sorry, I don't think we could recreate it. If we did, it wouldn't be genuine.
It's just
it wouldn't be the same.
Yeah. No, it wouldn't be funny anymore. I wish you guys would have been there for it. Blame Brandon for not getting the recording. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not Riverside, just Brandon.
That's it.
Yeah. Not Riverside. It's all Brandon.
No, it's only Brandon.
Hey there, welcome to the JRPG Pursuit, your JRPG podcast for all things JRPGs. I'm Brandon.
I'm Abdallah.
And I'm Emily.
And we are joined today by a very special guest. Her name is Ginger Sue. She's a voice actress extraordinaire. She plays the lead role in what was my favorite game of last year. So I'm like beside myself, literally over here next to myself with excitement to have her on the show today. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm excited to be here. Like I said, I love all things JRPG, so it's a perfect fit.
I love that. I love that because, it would be bad if you didn't. Because I'd have to break it to you. We're going to be talking about JRPGs. Sorry.
I love my job, so I'm happy talking about it anytime. I mean, whoever's ear I can talk off about it, I'll take.
Oh, we got ears.
So. We do. We got 6 good ones right here. Mm-hmm. So now we've all kind of absorbed your backstory through what you've published online on your website and social media and all that. But if you wouldn't mind just kind of walking us through your history, what you've done up until now, what kind of led you to voice acting and your current roles, upcoming roles and whatnot. Just tell us that whole history, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So in college, I decided I wanted to try some clubs, and I was looking at different things, and I saw the theater club. I thought, that sounds kind of fun. I'll give it a try. And I joined the theater club and instantly fell in love. It was this kind of light bulb moment where I realized that that's what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. That acting was that was it for me. And I was already getting my degree to be an elementary school teacher and decided to go ahead and finish that degree. But as soon as I graduated, I went immediately to get a job at Disney World. And so I worked at Disney World for 3 years, from 2007 to 2010. So if you were there during that time, you might have met me. I worked as close friends with some of the princesses. We keep the magic. And I was close friends with Mary Poppins. And Belle and Snow White. And I was part of the show Dream Along with Mickey, which they don't have anymore. It's a retired show, but it was on the castle stage, and it was wonderful. I loved that show. And I did lots of the parades, and there was a big parade at the time called Block Party Bash, and I got to be in the opening cast of that as Mrs. Incredible, which that was super fun.
Oh, wow.
And then I did Fantasmic, which was a nighttime show at Hollywood Studios, and I did all kinds of stuff, and it was just tons of fun, and absolutely loved it. And one thing that was really fun about that job was in the stage shows, like you learn the choreography, you learn the dancing, you do that kind of thing. But then when you meet guests, it's all improv. Yeah. And so you're just having to think things up. Kids come up and ask you questions that you just don't expect. And you have to come up with something quick. Some of my favorite ones were someone saying, Belle, you don't look the same as you did in the day parade today. And I was like, I changed my makeup. Did your mom ever put on makeup and look totally different? And she was like, yeah. I'm like, that's what I did too. And she was like, that tracks. And so I was like, cool, got out of that one. You just have to think up something on the moment. Or if they ask, a question about, Belle, what was your mom's name? I'm like, there's no written lore about that. So I just say, well, I just called her mom. What do you call your mom? She's like, Mom. I'm like, yeah, me too.
Whoa, we're so alike.
We're the same. And then they're just like, okay. And they just go along.
Yeah.
So you just have to think up something in the moment to be like, let's direct over here. Or there is no written lore about this, so I don't know. But you can ask me about my horse. I can tell you all about him. So just be in the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I got the lore in here.
It was
yes. Yeah. It's funny. The one time that I was there was during that period. Like the one time I've ever been there was during that span of years. So maybe I saw you. I don't remember anything about the trip. It was so long ago, but I do know that I was there. So.
So good. So if it was in the summer, you were probably so hot that you don't remember much other than that.
Yeah, it was. I'm sure it was excruciating. Sorry, but go on.
So I worked at Disney World for 3 years and absolutely loved it. I ended up getting married, and then I moved with my husband for his job. But I still just wanted to act. I wanted to find some way that I could still continue acting. So I looked into some theaters and things like that. But I had started to develop some like physical problems. It ended up being an autoimmune disorder, but I was having such terrible joint pain that I couldn't get on stage anymore to act. And so I was feeling very sad, thinking, I found my passion, I found what I want to do, but I physically am unable to do it. And so I was sitting at the table with my husband one night. We were watching anime, which we always did. And he looked at the screen and he said, you could do that. And I was like, do what? He's like, that, like voice acting. And it was like, I never even thought of that. That's amazing. You can just sit in front of the, microphone and act. And you don't have to be able to climb upstairs or, do crazy dancing on stage or anything. True. You can just act. And so I started looking into it and realizing that it was much more accessible than I had realized. You don't have to live in LA or New York. I mean, it helps if you do, but you don't have to, or, Atlanta or something like that. You can build a home studio and record from home. And that just blew my mind. So I started taking classes. I started looking into how to, use this equipment. The hardest part for me was learning the software. That was new to me. But once we got that up and running, it was like a whole new world had opened up, and the possibilities were limitless. And so that's what got me into voice acting. And I started with video games, booking some video games, doing lots of like little mobile games and working with localization companies, translating them from usually Chinese into English. And then kind of got my bearings there. And then recently, maybe a year ago, started doing anime here in Houston with Sentai Filmworks. And it felt like kind of that full circle moment of sitting at the table, wishing I could act and not knowing how I could anymore. And then, now I'm in the shows, that other people are watching. So it was a really cool moment for me. And that's how I got into voice acting.
That's a journey, amazing. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really curious, like you mentioned, like working with these companies to like starting out with the mobile games and then moving on to other kinds of games and then even into anime. Like, what can you tell us about that? Like the localization process, or like you're part of that. Like, what do you do? What does that look like for an actor like you going in?
Yeah. It really depends on the localization company. Some of them are very involved, and they'll give you lots of information, and you might even have a session where you meet live with a voice director and the end client, and they'll kind of explain what they want. They'll explain the scene. They'll help you know what they want. And then there's some where you get, and you just record it on your own. You have no information at all. You're just like, hey, here's 10 lines. Here's a picture of the character. Have at
go.
And you just record it on your own and send it in. And those are fine for like, I can record it in my own time. Like, I've got some time at 9:30 p.m. I'll just do that real quick or whatever. And then you do your best to interpret what they probably want. There's some lines where you're like, without knowing the intention of the line, if the line is, I'm here, you could be like, maybe you're the injured one and you're lying on the ground and your teammates are trying to find you and you're like, I'm here, and you're hurting. Or maybe you're the one doing the rescuing and you rush over and you're like, look, I'm here to help you. Or your character just got summoned and you pop up and you're cute and you're like, oh, I'm here. what do you want? And so I actually started teaching a whole class about this for people coming in, voice actors coming in and into mobile games for the first time, about how do you handle situations like this, and how do you use the character artwork to interpret what the client probably wants. The artwork is huge. If you don't get the artwork, then you're just really kind of like, you just got to guess. You give them like 5 takes and like, pick one of those. It's got to be one of those. But if the artwork tells you a lot, so you can kind of match the style vibes, and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And then as you've done mobile games for a while, you get used to kind of like, okay, this is probably a summons line. This is probably their ultimate. Of like, you've been charging up and now you get to use that character's ultimate in the gameplay. Or this one's probably their victory line, like the match has won, you've been selected as MVP, this is probably their victory. This one's probably their losing line, or that's probably their death. So as you go through, you get used to, okay, that's probably what this is. So it needs to be delivered like ultimate fairly quickly. You don't want to drag that one out unless there's an animation, which they should tell you, but sometimes they don't. So just things you have to figure out as you go along. But the companies that have a game that they anticipate to do well, like Stranova was one I was in, and that was a super, super fun game because it's like anime girls with guns meets Paper Mario.
Oh, yeah.
So like they turn flat and they float around like Paper Mario to get to different places, and it's hilarious. It's a really fun game. And that one was great because we had a voice director and the end clients. We had like clients in LA and in either China or Japan. I think it was China, and I think it was probably Beijing. And they were there so they could explain to me like, okay, this is what's happening in this line. Can you do that? That sort of thing. And those kinds of sessions are great because if you're not sure what the intention is behind what you're saying, there's someone there to answer that question for you. You don't have to just throw something out there and hope it sticks, you know?
Have you been in a situation like where some of the lines maybe felt a little bit strange to like read out in English? Would you like give feedback about like, maybe if I said it this way, would that be like a substitute or something?
Yeah, absolutely. And that does happen a good bit where you're like, I know what you're trying to say, but it doesn't feel natural. But they're usually super grateful for your suggestions. So if I'm recording on my own, then I'll record as written, because sometimes they're like, no, this has to be exactly it. And you're like, okay, put it up there. But usually I will record an alternate suggestion and kind of make it more natural sounding. And then I'll send a note to the localizer and say, hey, just so you know, on line 23, here's what was written. Here's my suggestion for what would sound more natural. And almost every time they pick the more natural one. Or if I'm in a session with someone I can speak to, I would bring it up. And usually they're totally cool with fixing it. Yeah.
That's encouraging to hear as someone like me who's like really passionate about localization and like naturalistic sounding English in games and anime and stuff. Like it's good to hear that most of the time they actually do want it to sound good, maybe they weren't the best equipped to write it, but like you come in with a suggestion and they're like, great. Yes, that sounds great.
Yeah. And sometimes like the English makes sense and it's proper English. It just doesn't sound like something that character would say. Maybe it's too formal or maybe like here's a more casual way to say that fits this character better, things like that.
I think that we as native English speakers often kind of take for granted is that English is a really complicated language. So these companies over in China or Japan or wherever, like, they want to make a good game. They want it to be good and enjoyable for the entire audience, and they're doing the best they can, but like it's a really complicated language. So so it's good to be able that you have that freedom, at least sometimes, to make those suggestions, because I'm sure it makes a big difference.
Yeah. Do you have any access to like the game or media like prior to it, like untranslated, to just kind of get the idea of like inflections and things like that as you're looking into then
like
read
how the character was
basically
portrayed originally maybe by
It depends. It depends on the project. So sometimes if something has already released in Japan or already released in China, then and they like wait a while to do the global release, then I can kind of hunt it down. Like they don't tell me what it is. Everything's code names, or they just like even the localizers don't know. So sometimes especially for the smaller mobile games, the localizers I work with, they don't know what it is, or they don't know what its English name is going to be. So they know, maybe they know what it is in Chinese, but they don't know what it's going to be localized to. So, and a lot of those sometimes launch at the same time with global. So if something is out there, what I'll do is, and I talk about this in my class too, I'm like, okay, here's how you figure out what in the world you're even working on here. And you look at all the clues that you have, like, okay, what's the code name? Maybe that has something to do with something in the game. And then what is my character talking about? I did this with FANTASIAN. So everything was code named. And so when I was looking through kind of what the characters were talking about, because I auditioned for multiple characters in FANTASIAN. And so I had enough to go on to kind of say, okay, let me just search the internet and try to find things that have this kind of floating airship, and there's this kind of problem that they got, and there's like robots and stuff. And then FANTASIAN had already released years prior in Japan, and I think they had launched it in English, but it was unvoiced.
Right.
And so I was able to go and find the game and watch it and figure out, okay, so it's this kind of style. We got anime style going on. It's this kind of gameplay, and get a feel for what it is they want. But since it was that one was unique because it was unvoiced completely, even in Japanese. So I had no voice reference, but I could at least see the style. But other things like Stranova had already been released, so I could go and kind of get a feel for what style of acting they were going for. And when I can find my character, then I know, oh, okay, that's what they're going for in Chinese or Japanese. This is what the audition needs to sound like, and try to get it as close as possible. And it depends on the end client too. If the client is from China, they're usually very much want the English voice to be as close to the Chinese voice and style as possible. Whereas clients from other countries can sometimes be okay with a little bit more freedom with interpretation.
Interesting.
So it depends on the project. It depends on the client. It depends on if you're recording on your own. It depends on if you got a voice director. But absolutely, every time I get an audition, if I can figure out what it is, and if I can go and look up, I do, to try to get a feel for what kind of style and what kind of voice and what kind of interpretation are they likely to want to hear.
I'm glad you brought up FANTASIAN because, first of all, I love that game.
Me too.
And you played Morrigan the Butterfly, and which is a great character, is like the kind of the part of the comic relief trio that shows up for anybody that hasn't played it. It's a Hironobu Sakaguchi game, so you're going to see a lot of things that are reminiscent of like classic Final Fantasy, and so you have this trio of characters that shows up to challenge you throughout the game. And it's Morrigan and her two brothers, I believe. They're all related.
Yeah, they're brothers,
What can you tell us about that production and that process of working on FANTASIAN?
It was awesome. And so this was a really unique time because we recorded this kind of, it was post-COVID, but it was still in a time where not a lot of people were going in studio. And so I think we kind of had this opportunity to do it because of that. I think usually it probably would have been recorded in LA in-house. But because of everything going on with COVID, the doors were open to remote actors like me, and most of the other people in the cast were remote. And so I was able to apply to get on the roster with Skylark, who is handling it. And when I got the auditions for it, I auditioned for Morrigan. I auditioned for both of the princesses, Cheryl and Kina, and a couple other characters. And I really just worked hard on all those other characters. But then when I got to Morrigan and I started reading through her information, I was like, oh, she's Jessie from Team Rocket. And then I realized that's totally who she is. And so I just went with the big Jessie from Team Rocket energy.
Yeah.
And I thought, I don't know how hard they want to go on this. So I'm going to give one take where I go ham, and then another take that's more grounded, more, traditional, a little more femme fatale. Mm-hmm. And so just gave them both. And then when I booked it and I got into the session, I was introducing they were introducing to everyone, and then they said, all right, so we're recording Morrigan today. Have you heard of Jessie from Team Rocket? And I went, perfect. I have, actually. And they're like, so she's basically her. And I was like, okay, good. That's what I went with.
Perfect.
And I was like, so I gave you 2 takes. Are we doing like the big, or are we going to go with more grounded? They're like, oh no, go big. It's like, okay, all right, good. That's what I want.
Yeah. You see that animation that plays whenever they show up, and it's like, you gotta go big, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was so fun. And I was the first of the trio to record, so I didn't get to hear Dottie or Folt until the game released. And so I had, done all my vocals, and then so I didn't know who Dottie and Folt were going to be until it released, and I didn't actually know them prior. I knew several other people in the cast, but I didn't know them. So we found each other, and we were like, oh my gosh, Cinderella Tri-Stars. This is amazing. And they sounded so good. And just the way that we bounced off each other without even being in the same room, it was so great. So it was just such wonderfully cast, the brothers. It was so fun. I laughed a lot.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's such a great game, and like, man, I'm constantly reminded of what we would have lost if Hironobu Sakaguchi had stopped making games, and the fact that he's able to continue doing it. He keeps saying every game is his last game, and I've stopped believing him. So hopefully he doesn't mean it this time, and he'll keep going.
We can always keep our fingers crossed.
He's like the Miyazaki of the video game industry.
Yeah. I'm retired.
I'm retired.
I'm back in.
Retired.
I'm back in.
Exactly.
You guys convinced me. I'm back in. So I wanted to jump back real quick, if you don't mind, because you mentioned that you're teaching a class, and you had kind of mentioned that you took classes as you were kind of ramping up to jump into the industry. Like, can you tell us more about like the process of breaking into video games, like and anime, but like video games in particular? Like, what's that look like? Do you get an agent? Like, what do you have to do to make that happen?
It can be either way. I have booked all of my games on my own, so I didn't need an agent to book any of the video games that I've been in. A lot of localizers and production houses have a roster, which is a list of talent that they send auditions to. And the main way to get into video games is to apply to these rosters. And so you look to see who has their roster open, or you look to see who is posting in public places like Twitter and LinkedIn and things like that. They're posting about, we're in search of these type of voices right now, especially if you're able to do accents or other languages. That's a huge plus. And so you find the contact person who is in charge of recruitments, and you send them your information. You would need to have a professionally produced demo, which is kind of like a minute and a half of you doing different character voices. And so you have like 7 seconds. You have like 5 to 10 seconds to bring a fully fleshed character to life. And then you have about 5 or 6 characters on a demo. And so you want to show your full range. So if you can do kid voices, if you can do a villain, if you can do, the sweet romantic lead, if you can do the spunky teen, you want to show everything on that demo. And then you send that to them. And then if you have previous work, you put it together on a visual reel with clips from projects you've already been in. But if you don't have that, that's okay. You don't have to. When I got started, I didn't have that. But you start by applying to these rosters, and then eventually they'll start sending you auditions if you've been accepted. You never know if you've been accepted. You just suddenly get an audition. You're like, ooh, okay, well, guess I'm on the roster. And then you show them what you can do through your auditions. And if they like your auditions, even if they're not booking you, they'll start sending you more. And then you start booking that way. So the best way to get into video games is to find localizers, find production houses, and apply to their rosters. You can do that through your agent. If you have an agent and you tell them, hey, I'm really interested in video games, can you help me get some auditions? Or especially if you have like a favorite, like, listen, I would just dream of being in Genshin Impact. Can you, if you get anything like that comes across your desk, I just love everything Hoyo, that sort of thing. And then they'll try to get you some of those auditions if you have a good relationship with your agent. So that's possible too. So you can do either way, but a lot of people think they have to have an agent to get it. But I've booked hundreds of games myself. I don't need an agent. Okay. You can do it through rosters.
Huh. Yeah, that's really interesting because honestly, I would have thought that step one would be agent 100%. Like, that's really cool to hear that's an option.
As you go, and if you want to get into the bigger games, like if you want to be a playable character in Genshin Impact, or if you want to book, like Fortnite or something big, you do have to have an agent, and you do probably have to record in studio in LA. So there's some barriers there. Some people are open to remote and some are not. And some are open to people flying in and some are not. Some are like, no, you have to live here.
Be local.
There's certain companies that I know that I've had a chance to meet their casting directors at conferences or things like that. And they're like, no, you have to live here because I don't want our entire schedule to depend on whether or not your airline and your airplane gets here on time. And I understand that. So I can see where they're coming from. But it depends on who you're auditioning for.
Yeah. And like reoccurring characters, I'm sure to have that, like to be on site or local, probably a little bit easier to, tap into that more often.
Absolutely. Or, hey, we've got a pickup or, if you're going to be in there, like if you've got slated like 25 hours of recording, over the course of 2 weeks, you're going to basically be living in LA anyway.
Right. That's true.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like that leads really naturally into, to be honest, the thing I'm most excited to talk about, which is STARBITES. As I think people that watch this show or that have watched YouTube at all, seen me on YouTube, I love STARBITES, guys. It was, like I said, my favorite game it came out last year, right? My time is all screwed up. Late last year.
I think so.
Well, I mean, in the U.S. here, it came out.
In the U.S. it came out. Yeah. It's been out. It had been out for a year or so in Asia prior to that.
Correct.
But it was just like, it was just a fantastic, I love that game so much, you guys. So yeah, there's certain games, if people know me, there's certain games that I won't shut up about. One of them is Harvestella. Love Harvestella. We'll never shut up about it.
It's got a name drop.
Another is STARBITES. STARBITES been added to that roster. So I hope I don't get on anybody's nerves. Well, no, I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway.
No, you got to have STARBITES. Like STARBITES.
When did you ever care?
Awesome.
When have I cared? So anyway, having said all that, I would just love to hear about kind of the process leading up to getting the role of Lucida. Like, this is like the main character of this game, and in the whole game basically is voiced, right? Like, and I know in a lot of JRPGs, a lot of incidental dialogue might not be voiced, but like basically I think every scene is fully voiced. So I'm just curious, like, it's a lot of work, I'm sure, but I'm curious about the lead up to that process.
Yeah. I love this game too, so I'm so excited that we get to talk about it. And this one was actually produced through Sentai Filmworks, which is an anime company.
Yeah.
And so I started working at Sentai, and I started out in Walla, which is like background voices, or, you go into a session like, oh, we got like 5 different characters. Can you be that grandma? Can you be that little boy running by? Can you be that high school girl talking about homework? And then, they start to get to know you. They start to get to know your range. And then I started booking other roles. I had booked a lead. And so one day I was coming in to record for probably Dusk Beyond the End of the World. Okay. And they're like, hey, as long as you're here, do you want to audition for a video game? And I was like, y'all are doing a video game? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, what you got? And they handed me papers for Lucida, Gwendal, Fennec, Makobo, and Marie, I think. And I looked at them and I was like, okay, I'm not a Fennec. Take that one out. My voice is too high for that. But I said, sure, I'll audition for these 4. And so we went in and we just did the recording live. And I connected with Lucida the most. I was like, it was the easiest for me because I could find some similarities with her. Mm-hmm. And so I had a lot of fun with that. And one of the lines was her describing her fight with a robot to her friends. And it was like a kapow, bam, boom, and all this kind of stuff. And I just decided to have fun with it and be crazy. And then did her other lines, like her discovering something from Finnick and that sort of thing. And then we went on to go record the anime for the day. And then later on, I got an email from scheduling. They're like, hey, we need to schedule you for like 20 hours. And I was like, oh.
Oh, just 20 hours?
Why? Okay. But I thought we were already wrapping the other show. And she's like, oh, no, this is for the video game. I was like, it sounds like a significant character. Can you tell me more? And then they're like, oh, we're going to have you as Lucida. And I was like, no, really? And so when I go in for my first session, they were like, so have you ever done video games before? And I'm like, did y'all not have me come and audition because you knew that video games was like my thing? Like I've done over 100 video games. They're like, oh, you have? I'm like, I gave you my resume. Like when I signed on for the company, like you have it. I've been in Genshin Impact. And then they're like, oh, well, good. So you kind of know what you're doing. I'm like, yeah.
I've dabbled.
But so that was a happy surprise for them. And I thought that's why they hired me. But I was like, okay, well, cool. I guess you like my audition. So I'm cool with that. But then the recording process was super fun and we just had a great time.
Yeah. So Lucida is such a great character. Like it's like one of those characters you look at and it's like, it's me for real. You know, like I feel this. Like,
yeah. How much of me can I sneak in there?
Right. Yeah. And like, yeah, I'm just curious, like, you know, as a character, like as the actress portraying her, but also just as a person kind of viewing her story, like what do you find relatable? What was difficult for you to bring out that's kind of not your experience? Like, I'm just really curious to hear about like your relationship with Lucida.
Oh, that's a good question. I guess Lucida has these really big dreams that she wants to accomplish, but things in her life are just keeping her from that. And I think that's pretty relatable. For me, it was like the passion to act and then not having a lot of support from family and things like that to pursue it. So and that was holding me back. And then, of course, money. Everyone can relate to not having the money to do the things that you want to do in life. But she never really gave up. Like, she would get down for a while and she would get crushed by that debt. But the spark of what she wanted never really died. And she, her friends could help bring that back in her. And just a little bit of encouragement. And she was back on to, we're going to do this and we're going to keep going. And I think that's why she's successful. Because even though life is trying really hard to get her down and to get her from never achieving that dream, she doesn't just give up on it because it's hard. Right. So I did relate to that because I've always wanted to act. And I've always had a lot of things in life that have made it very difficult to do that, or not a lot of support from loved ones and things. But I just felt like, but I think I can do this. I think I can. Yeah. And I think I have what it takes to be successful if I just have the opportunity, Yeah. And I think Lucida is that way too. If she just has the opportunity.
That's the part, I think, the fact that game is willing to show Lucida as this optimistic go-getter, but then she hits a setback and she crashes a little bit. She's like, she's down about it. And they like are willing to show her at these low moments, but then like you said, her friends help pick her back up. She gets back on her feet and keeps going. That is what separates, in my mind, like a character that could end up being cloying with their like optimism, positivity, and a character that's real. Right. That feels like a real person. And I think that was like, you played it really well. And I think that the character was written in such a way to just, I don't know, like it's a big part of the reason she's like my new favorite main character, like period.
You're absolutely right. It's so nice to see the character get down, and express sadness and express that, dismay. because a lot of times I'm the plucky go-getter and nothing gets me down. But that's not real. That's not relatable. That's not how people are. It's normal and real to get down and to be like, I don't think this is going to work, and to feel super discouraged. But then because she has those close relationships that she's able to turn to in those times, and they can help pick her back up and encourage her, and she does get back on her feet and keeps trying, even though, you know, the world is against her and she's got all this debt she'll never pay off. That's, you know, probably fabricated anyway.
Right.
You know?
That's true.
As we, you know, see later. But, and then, and complicated bad guys too. Like, you're so set against Finnick, and then you find things out later on. You're like, oh, maybe Finnick, I don't know. I'm conflicted, you know, and you're like, it's complicated.
Well, that was another great thing about the dynamic between Lucida and Fennec is like, it's almost mother-daughter, like in a way, in kind of a twisted way, you know?
Yeah. It's a toxic relationship.
Toxic, like a very toxic mother-daughter relationship. And it's like an exaggeration of what you might think is a stereotypical like mother-daughter butting heads, like blown up to an extreme or whatever.
Yeah.
I really loved the scenes that you guys had together, just because the contrast between Lucida like enthusiastically explaining what she was doing and Fennec just being like
and so exasperated all the time,
straight.
So steady. Yep.
I know.
Yeah.
Did you have an opportunity?
Impresses her.
Yeah. Did you have an opportunity to hear the other voice actors and their character and be able to bounce back and forth a little bit and just help, I guess, create more chemistry between the characters?
I wish I could have. I would have loved to hear everyone else and be able to do that. But a lot of times the way we did it was we just recorded line by line by line instead of doing, if it was a cut scene, then I could see the animation, and that was ADR, that was dubbing. And so I think maybe one of the reasons that Sentai was chosen to do this game was because, you know, that's what they do. They're an expert in dubbing. And so we did all the dubbing, and I might have been the first one to be recorded. And so I didn't get to hear my scene partners, but I think if someone is recorded, then the later people probably do get to hear it. But then for the rest of the game, it's just like an Excel spreadsheet of lines. And sometimes we wouldn't talk about what the background of, like, what's going on. Sometimes they'd give me a little bit, and then I could just infer what was going on. But if we got to one line that I didn't quite understand, I'd say something like, what does she feel about this? Like, what's going on with this line, and what does she feel about this? Because I could see it going a couple of ways here. What kind of feeling do you want? But I would have loved to be able to hear the other people who had been recorded, because you're right, it does increase that chemistry. You can bounce off of each other. If somebody emphasizes one word, now that kind of changes the feelings. So you're like, wow, okay, well, I'm going to respond this way then.
Right.
I would have loved that, but I don't.
I think despite that, though, the chemistry was still good.
It is, agreed. Yeah. Like, I was going to say that there are plenty of games that I've played where, you know, no slight to any of the performers or directors, but like you can tell it wasn't quite meshing perfectly. But like in STARBITES, I felt like all of the performances, like everything felt natural. And I wondered if there was more communication or if you had more access to the other actors, because everything felt so natural in a way that sometimes games just can't because of the way they're recorded. So props to you guys and the voice direction for being able to simulate that, even if it wasn't, wasn't the reality of it.
I wonder if it's maybe because everyone in the game works at Sentai. We're all in anime together. And so we're just kind of used to jumping into a scene without really knowing what anyone else is doing and just bringing as much as we can to that moment without being able to know or hear anything else. So I don't know if that played into it or not, but I didn't even know what everyone else sounded like or who it was until the game came out. And I was like, oh, that was Jeremy. That was Monica. What? Like looking around like, oh, I didn't know that. And they all sounded like exactly as how I imagined they would in my head. And I'm like, you guys did so good over at the casting.
Now for Sentai, like, is this remote voice acting, or are you going to like on location specifically?
And this one is in studio.
In studio, okay.
Remote dubbing is possible. It's just very difficult.
Yeah, I imagine.
And especially for something like this where they want to make sure that all the sound is the same. This one was recorded in Houston, Texas, locally. And so pretty much all the characters that had major roles were people who were local and could come in. I ended up recording like 26 hours for Lucida. And so and thankfully I live like so close. So it's easy for me to come in and like, hey, we got a pickup. I can just drive over, you know? So I think most of us who had the big meteor characters that had a lot of studio time were locals. But I think some people did drive in or, you know, fly in to record. But yeah, if it's in studio, it's just a lot easier to maintain. The sound quality is exactly the same. The studio sound is exactly the same. And then especially for the dubbing part, they can make sure that there's no delay. Everything is just lines up perfectly. So it's just easier to do in studio. So which is why I get it for the LA studios. I'm like, I understand. I get it. I wish I could have access, but I get it.
Yeah.
You know.
So from a personal preference then, like, do you find it better, easier, more enjoyable to record like in studio with Sentai, or do you like just the recording at home, the convenience of that, the comfort of that? Like, what's your preference then?
Both are really great. It's fun being in studio because you can talk with the director, you can laugh with the engineer, you can see everything right in the moment. You don't have to worry about any kind of delay. You have like face-to-face communication, and it is nice to I'm an extrovert, so I like being around people. And so I like going in studio and feeling like I'm part of the team, you know, but I also like for some games being able to record from home and not having to fly to LA because I don't really want to, but it's great if I can do it from home. But if it was, you know, if the studio was in town, I would prefer driving over to record there to just be part of, you know, the environment and be able to be live with people.
Yeah.
It's your way of getting into the theater moment.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Team.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well,
that's a good point. I never thought about it that way, but that's so true.
Do you know, and you may have said this, but do you know if Sentai has previously done games, or is this the first time to your knowledge that they've
They have done some
have.
games,
okay.
And sometimes like it's been an anime that becomes a video game. And then like if Sentai was the one who dubbed the anime, they want the same actors to continue to play their character in the video game version of it. So I know they've definitely done that. And I think they've done some games in the past, but I don't know exactly which ones they are. But it wasn't their first rodeo.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm just thinking like, you know, NIS America has obviously is the publisher, the localizer for STARBITES, and I'm curious, like, you know, if they've used Sentai before, or because I mean, obviously it turned out really, really well, so I'm sure that they're making note of that if they hadn't done it before.
Hope so. Secretly hoping we get like a STARBITES 2 or something.
I mean, they have to. They have to. To me, it feels like almost like the prologue to what feels like is going to be a big
an epic
story. Yeah, like
there's more story to tell there.
There's so much the lore, like having played through the game and like done all the optional stuff and read all the I don't normally I'm not normally a lore hound, but like I was just eating it up.
Yeah.
And there's so much to the outside world, outside of the planet Bitter, where everything takes place, that they reference and are setting up with like all these organizations that are out there and like the interrelatedness of everything. It's like they got to have some kind of a plan. Like
they got enough lore to support it. And then like, what about this interstellar war where we see all the remnants of it? What was that?
Right.
And we want to know more.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Gwendol, there's a whole bunch of stuff that they drop about her. A lot of it's just implied, but like, and I love how they handled that. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody that hasn't played, but a lot of the stuff about her backstory is heavily implied through dialogue and some other things you find, but like it's that like restraint that you don't often see in writing. It's like they could have just put it all out there. It's like, maybe this is going to be our only chance. We're just going to say it all.
Yeah.
But they just
just tease you.
Sneak in a little info. Yeah.
Give you a little
I love that. Sorry, that wasn't really a question. That was just me gushing about the game.
That's the way I love it.
You can't help it.
No.
So here's a fun one. If so, you auditioned for several characters on STARBITES. If you had to pick a second choice, if you weren't Lucida, who would you want to be, and why?
Well, I had a lot of fun with the Gwendol audition because she's so funny, and I think that I can't remember if it was Monica or Natalie who was the voice of Gwendol, but the way that she did her, like, just such a she did the airhead kind of in such a cute way that it was like almost beautifully innocent, but she's like, I just drank like so much beer, but it was so sweet about it. And I thought Gwendol probably would have been really fun because of that, because you know, she just had so many funny lines to pop in as the comedic relief and her, you know, obsessive drinking and things like that.
Yeah, like the airheaded alcoholic who's also like a psychopathic assassin. Like,
and you're like, that's a fun mix. But probably Gwendol. She's really cool. And I think that would have been funny. But I don't think I could do it as well as... it drives me nuts. There's sisters. I can't remember if it was Monica or Natalie.
I feel like it was Natalie, but...
You know what? I think I have the cast list pulled up here just in case It was... Gwendol was Natalie. It was Natalie. Oh, I couldn't do it as good as Natalie. She was amazing.
So we were also wondering, like, do you have any other like video game aspirations for like different studios or developers? You'd like be like a dream role for you to have in that space?
Oh man, that's a good question. I'd really love to be a playable character in something as beautiful as like, because I'm in Genshin Impact, but not as a playable. But something in the Hoyoverse world as a playable, they just put so much detail and beauty into their characters, and they usually have such a great story with it. I would love to be in one of those. I think that would be really cool because they really flesh out their characters, I feel. I guess in the experience I had with my character, I was the voice of Atea in Natlan, and she's kind of the mentor to Mualani, and she... is like they have a whole kind of story arc about her and they're trying to save her. She has this, you know, disease and you're trying to help her and everything. And it's a very bittersweet story. And I loved how fleshed out it was. I was really impressed with that and how, you know, emotional it was. And I feel like it's kind of like the Hoyoverse thing to be like, ooh, let's put some more trauma, you know? It's totally
they do inject that a lot. I dabbled in Honkai Star Rail. And really liked a lot of those like worlds and character developments. So definitely would be probably a fun one to do a playable character there too.
I would love that. And like their outfits are always so intricate and beautiful. And I'm always like, oh, screenshots, pictures, they're so pretty. So that would be really cool.
Yeah, the amount of effort that they put into all the Miho, like all those games, man. Yeah. Like Honkai was the one that Star Rail was the one that I got the most into. But I played
turn-based
quite
JRPG.
a bit of, that fits. But like Genshin Impact, I had a period where I was doing the dailies, man. Wow. And that's not me. Like, it's good enough that like, that's not what I normally do. Yeah. But like, I was doing it. I was gaming on my phone, you guys. People that have watched the show will know that I hate that. I don't want to game on my phone. Yeah, no. I want to be on the computer on my TV. But I bought a controller attachment so that I could put my phone in it and play on my phone. You guys, that's how into it I got.
It drew you in, man.
It drew me in, man.
It's that artwork. Like those
games
are.
Yeah, I mean,
those games are beautiful.
They're beautiful and they play really well. So,
speaking of those games, like how was the experience like getting into like? I feel like Hoyoverse and everything that you do is like it's like a machine almost. Like it's like so regulated what they're trying to do and what type of people to bring in versus kind of something like with like getting into STARBITES with the typical Sentai situation that you've been in.
Yeah. Hoyoverse is like a whole different beast. And it's like something a lot of people aspire to, but getting into it is tricky and has become even more tricky over time. So I was booked with Genshin Impact directly through one of the casting directors that I'd gotten to know. But then the strike happened and everything changed. And so this was right before I recorded with them at their original studio and finished everything right before the strike hit. And then everything just got really convoluted and confusing, and nobody really knew where the lines were on what was okay and what was not okay, and things just got really confusing. I was also the voice of the Pyro Archon's little sister, and so she came back later on for like a promo or something, and because things had changed hands and because all this stuff happened, they ended up recasting, and it was like this. It was such a confusing time. And so after all of that, the pathway to figure out how to continue to book further with them kind of evaporated, and then now it's just very confusing. But I have a couple of good friends of mine who just booked some playable characters, and so I've been asking them like, what? How do you even do this anymore? Like, but both of them are close enough to LA to just go in studio, and so I think it's become an in studio only kind of thing. But Zenless Zone Zero has a studio in Dallas, so that's Texas accessible. So that one is the one I'm kind of like, maybe that one could work. So you never know. Crossing my fingers, auditioning.
Well, we wish you luck. I think it would be great.
It would be cool.
For any playable character.
It'd be awesome.
So we haven't talked a lot about the anime side of things, and there's obviously a lot of overlap in terms of our audience with like anime. We all watch it. I think probably most of the people that watch this show also watch it. So tell us a little bit about some of the like recent projects that you've been working on, and if you can, what you're working on upcoming, anything that you're not, bound
you could highlight
to secrecy. Yeah,
actually, there's one that's out right now that I recently just wrapped recording the last episode for. It's getting near the end of the series, and it's called Petals of Reincarnation. And this one is a wild ride. It is intense, and the lead in this one is the same voice actor who was Jerome in STARBITES. And so Jerome is the lead, and then I'm like the female lead with him, and so we're like two STARBITES buddies leading up Petals of Reincarnation. And this one has been a really interesting show because it's like these famous people from history being so there's like normal people, but if you use a branch of reincarnation, which is like a special knife, you can awaken within yourself an ancient great or an ancient sinner. And you don't know which one is going to come out. So you can either be reincarnated as Julius Caesar, or reincarnated as an ancient, or like a serial killer or something. So you don't know what's going to come out. And so, like the character I play, Haito, she's got the reincarnated spirit of Musashi Miyamoto, which was a famous samurai. Yeah. And so she's got the double sword thing going on, and then the main character reincarnates the spirit of like someone who is a famous thief, and so he has the ability to steal talents from other people and like collect talents and that sort of thing. And so because they have these people who are reincarnated, like one of them is John Neumann, who is a famous mathematician from, where is he from? Denmark or Switzerland, Sweden, somewhere over there. They're getting like all the actors have accents from that country. And so we have like, the Dutch accent and the Finnish accent and the German accent for Einstein is reincarnated. And you have the German accent and the French, and it's really cool, like in Nostradamus and that sort of thing. So you got all these crazy characters, and yes, there is a reincarnated Hitler. It's part of the show.
Oh boy!
Yeah, as a cute little girl. I mean, I don't know. It's anime.
Of course, they would have
to be. Because anime. Yep.
Because anime. But it's really fun hearing all these accents. I mean, for the characters from Japan, we're like, it's anime, so there's no accent anyway.
Right. Yeah.
But everyone else has a really cool accent. So that's been really neat in that show. And we're coming toward the end of it. And like, I feel like every episode has about like 3 mangas worth of stuff in it. Like they're just packing it as quickly as they can. So it's like breakneck speed of what's going on. And even when we're recording, we're like, what's happening now? But it's been a fun ride. And I've really gotten to know Steven, who's the voice of Jerome and the voice of Toya in the show, well through it, because he's just doing a phenomenal job as his first lead. And I'll send him messages like, dude, I heard your stuff today when I was recording. You nailed this. It was awesome. He's really doing a great job. So it's exciting. You can tell the show, their iconic thing is people have red flower petals floating out of their neck is kind of the thing. Because in order to activate your power, you have to take the branch of reincarnation and slit your own throat.
Anime. That's the most anime.
Anime.
So it's like, if you're desperate enough for talent, you have to risk your life because there's no guarantee you will resurrect a talent. So it's like, are you willing to die in order to get a talent? And only the people desperate enough for talent take that risk and become a great or become a sinner.
That's one of the reasons that I like fell in love with anime as a kid is I like, here's and also JRPGs, honestly, like Japanese media is like, they're willing to tell weird stories, you know, like you look at most Western media and they're so like conservative with how they tell stories. They don't want to be too odd and out there. They want to just kind of tell the same sorts of stories repackaged a little bit. But anime, video games, man, like I remember my first real, like my playing through a JRPG fully for the first time, Final Fantasy IV, and it seems like knights and swords and dragons and whatnot. But then you go to the moon and there's like wizards on the moon and it's just the weirdest stuff. And you're like, what? Like, this is crazy. And I was like, for some reason, I don't know why, but for some reason, that's my jam.
The weirder, the better.
I can't explain it, but I love it.
That's what makes it so interesting, though, and draws you in because you don't know what to expect.
Right.
Because literally anything can happen.
Yeah.
That unpredictability, I think, definitely heightens it for sure.
Yeah.
I have a random thought. What was the anime that you and your husband were watching when he like had the epiphany of like, you should do this? Like,
one of my favorites of all time, Fairy Tail. I love Fairy Tail. Love Fairy Tail. And I've had the opportunity to meet Todd Habercorn a couple times because we've been in some projects together, and we were in a video game where I was the main character in this video game, and he was the voice of my father. And so when I found out it was Todd Habercorn, and I was like, oh my gosh, because he's one of the people who inspired me to go into voice acting, like him and Jeremy Lee, you know, as Natsu and Lucy. I'm a huge Natsu and Lucy fan. And so just being like, I was in a game with Todd. And there's another one coming out soon where Todd's in it as well. And this one is called Ungodly. And so
I've seen.
So in this one, it's funny because I play a character so outside of my wheelhouse. I play a gladiatrix. And she's a very like serious, down to earth, you know, death kind of gladiatrix. And when I auditioned for this character, I'm like, I'm not gonna get this, you know. And at first I didn't. They booked somebody else because I thought I don't have that deep kind of voice, you know, that they want. I'm like the spunky plucky teen, right? That's what I do.
Sure.
And so I just send it off like, nothing's gonna happen to this. But then they booked somebody else who had the voice, but wasn't connecting emotionally the way that they wanted to with this character because, of course, she has this traumatic background and all this kind of stuff. And so they ended up reaching out to me, and the director was kind of advocating for me to the client, like, listen, I think that she can bring that emotional connection that we're looking for. And they ended up hiring me. And in the first session, like we finished recording and the director said, okay, I'm going to be honest. I was a little nervous when we first brought you in because I didn't know if it was going to sound like you could kill a man or you wanted to bake him a pie. And I just didn't know if you could be mean enough, you know. And he's like, but you did it. You brought it, and it was exactly what we wanted.
You did both.
That's the range you bring. You could bake a man a pie.
You're such a nice person. I just didn't know if you could handle this. But then they ended up liking it so much that they redesigned the character to match my voice.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, wow, I'm so flattered. Thank you so much. He goes, yeah. She went up a whole cup size. I was like, what? Is that a compliment? Thank you.
Thanks.
It's
oh, yeah, she's much better now. I'm like, oh, okay. Thank you. That's great.
Right.
Didn't know I sounded large-breasted, but okay. That's fine. We can work with that. So that was
man.
I'm dying.
That's great.
So, yes.
Well, Ginger Sue, voice actress extraordinaire, thank you again for being with us. Is there anything that you want to plug or socials or anything you want to share before we wrap up?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter and Instagram entirely too often. I should cut back a little bit. But
I feel you.
Follow me there on Instagram. I post clips of the anime I'm in all the time. I have a cute new little kid show that's just come out called Guma-chan. And he's like this cute little horse. And so I post clips of that and Petals. And then I was the voice of Yugure in Dusk Beyond the End of the World, which was my first lead in an anime. So I'm posting clips of her all the time. And then Farming Life in Another World Season 2. I'm a bunch of little characters. So Instagram, I'm posting my work there all the time, whatever games come out. So if you want to see little clips. So I'm Ginger Sue VO on Instagram and Ginger_VO on Twitter. And so I'm active there all the time posting stuff. And yeah, and then I have my website, gingersuevo.com. So I should update it. It's pretty old. I need to update more of the roles. If you, I put like a list of all the anime characters I've been there. So you can browse through or see what video games I've been in. My time at Sandrock was a big one that we had such an amazing fan base for. Like I got so many hand-drawn pictures of my character Nia, who is a romanceable bachelorette there. And then I was also the voice of Trudy, who's the mayor of the town, who a lot of people really kind of connected with because she was like the mom for everyone. Mm-hmm. So I was also everyone's mom and everyone's girlfriend at the same time. So there you go. It could be a little bit of both.
Freud could do some stuff with that, I'm sure. But yeah.
So,
well, yes. Thank you again. We really appreciate it. And to all of you out there watching, listening, thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate you as well, especially to our members who make the show possible. Thank you so much. And we hope you will stick around and come back and see us again.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. This has been really fun.
Yeah, it's great and a pleasure hearing all these stories. What a treat.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Take care, everybody.
Take care,
everyone.